In some ways, it feels like we're all in a hot air balloon and we're drifting further and further away from the Earth, losing connection. We may have a better view of the planet than we've ever had before in human history, but we've lost touch with locality, with the wildlife that lives around us, and what that wildlife is telling us about the wider world. Survey after survey has shown that children can't even name the most common trees and birds and wildflowers that live alongside them. They have no relationship with the natural world. That's not only bad for their own mental health and well-being, it doesn't bode well for the future. Because what this pandemic has shown us is how much we need nature and depend on it, but also what happens when we disrespect it. Already the Earth has lost 50% of the mass of wildlife on Earth. Half as many birds fly and sing, half as many bees buzz, half as many wildflowers bloom as 50 years ago. So we need naturalists for the future, people who understand the workings of the world. We need young people to be able to name, observe and record the world around them, to be able to collect data and know how to use that data, and understand how British natural history connects us to the rest of the world. But this GCSE will do far more than that. It will explain how nature has inspired so much of our art, music and literature through time. And you don't have to live in the countryside to do it. There's so much in the city as well. The good young naturalists of today have become fascinated by the natural world because someone has inspired them and taught them. This GCSE will give young people a bedrock of awe and wonder which will see them through the whole of their lives. Britain has a long history of studying natural history. We are a nation that loves the natural world, and yet that history, that heritage, we're in danger of losing on our watch. If we don't have a thriving natural world, we can't thrive ourselves. We also lose an incredible source of inspiration and joy. That's why I'm passionate about this GCSE in natural history. I know it isn't a silver bullet, but it is a step in the right direction to connecting young people back to the earth, engendering a sense of awe and wonder and love, being able to study it scientifically, but also having an emotional connection.
Britain is a nation of nature lovers, yet according to the State of Nature report, we're also ranked as one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. The shocking fact is that within my lifetime alone, almost half of our wildlife has been wiped out. Now, while I was puzzling over this paradox, I came across the powerful words of the US writer Richard Louv in his wonderful book, Last Child in the Woods, where he points out that we cannot protect something we don't love, we can't love what we don't know, and we can't know what we don't see or hear or sense. And that got me thinking that maybe one of the reasons that we've allowed such widespread destruction of nature and wildlife is because people simply don't know what we're losing until it's too late, and they never learn to love it. Now, children in particular are more removed from nature than ever before. Many of them are growing up indoors. It's been found that prisoners spend more time in the open air than most of our children do. So when, a few years ago, I found out about Mary Colwell's brilliant initiative for a natural history GCSE, I felt so inspired, and it's been a joy working with her and others to promote this idea inside Parliament and out to help bring it to fruition. A GCSE in natural history will provide rigorous and structured field skills, immerse young people in the awe and wonder of the natural world, and teach the interconnectedness of nature to other aspects of life. It'll make links between nature and culture, exploring how nature has inspired art and music, literature and poetry, film and radio, as well as the digital space. There has never been a more important moment to reconnect young people to the natural world. Our future, quite literally, depends on it.
Hello, my name's Tim Smith. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Eden Project and its co-founder. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I'm in my very small Eden Project here in Cornwall. And I wanted to talk to you about the Natural History GCSE. I make no bones about it that while geography and biology and the rest of the sciences are important, we're living in a period where we need to be seeing holism, completeness, if you like, the return to a form of natural philosopher where we saw the whole picture of the world and its interconnections. For me, if you were to ask me really honestly, if there was one thing I could do in my life, let alone within the educational framework, it would be that all people were learning natural history. It is the fabric of life. It is the ecology that makes everything work. It is the cultural glue which links all other studies together and makes coherent sense of us being earthlings and having a relationship to everything else that is living on this small planet we share with all other things. We're going to be looking at what young people should be learning or could be learning to meet the future. It's going to be really exciting projects about new food systems, new connections, biological neural networks which actually reflect the way we work. The COVID has shown us that actually it is through connection and local interconnection that we become resilient. Resilience and neural networks are going to be the buzzwords of the next 10 years, and I want our young people to lead the world in understanding that these new careers are still there to be made and that the future still remains for us to make. It's not too late, but we've got to dare to throw away the old ways and embrace the new with a completely new way of looking at putting the world into common sense for us all to understand.
I'm Kabir Khan. I'm a young conservationist and wildlife writer. Firstly, I think a natural history GCSE is a fantastic idea. Over the coming decades, more and more of us will be living in towns and cities, and children are already spending the least time outside in human history. A natural history GCSE, however, can turn that around swiftly by offering students the opportunity to learn about, appreciate and protect the biodiversity on their very doorstep. My generation and those to come can regain that special connection we once had with the natural world, leading many more of us to help preserve the ecological wonders of our country for generations to come.
Hello, I'm Jill Duffy, Chief Executive for the UK Exam Board OCR, which is part of Cambridge Assessment, a non-teaching department of the University of Cambridge. When the naturalist and writer Mary Colwell approached my colleague Tim Oates and myself with her proposal to develop a GCSE in natural history, we didn't hesitate. We immediately saw that such a GCSE would bring new and exciting things to study and encourage young people to engage with the natural world around them. Introducing a new GCSE to an already crowded curriculum is not straightforward and comes with a great deal of responsibility because of the potential impact it can have on the study choices and experiences of young people. It also needs the support of government and the qualifications regulator, so we have to demonstrate that the subject is coherent, worthwhile, and that any GCSE is as rigorous and demanding as other subjects. That's why OCR has already conducted a large nationwide consultation on our proposals for this new GCSE. This consultation drew over 2,000 responses, many from young people. Nearly all of the responses were positive, with over 90% of respondents supporting core proposals. Here's a brief overview of the findings. 90% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed with our definition of natural history. 96% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed outdoor study should be an important part of a GCSE in natural history. 93% of young people expected some time studying outdoors. 91% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed with the proposed purpose of a GCSE in natural history. And 94% of young people would have liked or would like the option to study such a qualification. During our consultation, we've been in touch with many stakeholders and continue to be impressed by the expertise and passion shown by so many individuals and the organisations they represent. This slide shows just a few of the many organisations that have supported our proposals. And you'll see that the Eastbourne Schools Partnership is amongst that forest of logos there. We have also created a strategic advisory board made up of representatives from a wide range of interested organisations, including the NAE, leading experts in the field, practitioners, and some incredibly insightful and impressive young people. Board members are never afraid to challenge us or each other, and I see no signs of us becoming complacent. We also have a forum especially for consulting with teachers, which certainly keeps us grounded in the realities of what is possible in schools. We have now filed a report based on the findings of our consultation with the Department for Education, and we're eagerly awaiting their response. Obviously, these are busy and uncertain times, and we expect that the government will want to conduct its own consultation, which will take time. However, we are hoping that we will have developed a GCSE to be available in schools at the earliest in September 2023, with first assessments in June 2025. And on that timeline, materials would need to be available for centres by September 2022 at the latest. So why is a natural history GCSE important? We feel that fostering an engagement with and an understanding of the natural world is hugely important for all sorts of reasons, starting with the demands of young people themselves. Recent research carried out by Oxfam shows how young people want to learn more about the world around them. The figures show that only 4% of students feel that they know a lot about climate change, and that 70% want to learn about the environment. For whatever reasons, there is compelling evidence that children are losing contact with the natural world. For example, a recent survey told us that 83% of children aged between 5 and 16 could not identify a bumblebee. 97% could not identify a beech leaf, and 96% could not identify a cabbage white butterfly. And 1 in 5 children living in England's most deprived areas spend no time in the natural environment. Many of those supporting demands for GCSE see it as part of a need to change what is taught in schools to reflect the very real climate urgency we're facing. We're delighted to have amongst the stakeholders contributing to our development an organisation called Teach the Future. Teach the Future is an organisation run by young people that campaigns for a new curriculum designed to help people understand and respond to the climate crisis. And examples of the impact of the crisis can be seen on our very doorstep. Hedgehog numbers have declined by 95% since the 1950s. 41% of UK species have declined since the 1970s. And 97% of UK wildflower meadows have been lost in the last century. And here are just a couple of comments from responses to our own consultation on a natural history GCSE. I think it's really important to learn about our environment and how we got here and the world around us. It's even more important to be educating people on the effect of human life on the planet. Too many people take nature for granted, so having this subject may change people's perspectives, and that's what we need to do. The global pandemic that we're experiencing and the impact of climate change we are witnessing firsthand underline our need as humans to understand the value of and our relationship with the environment in our towns and cities, the wider countryside and across the globe. And a good place to start will be the study of natural history. So what have we proposed should be in a natural history GCSE? To fully appreciate the complexity, diversity and interconnectedness of the natural world, it's important to study it closely and interact with it through field research and measurement. Natural history provides opportunities to develop these skills out in the field, as well as in a classroom or in a laboratory. A central part of the study of natural history has to be getting out there and investigating the natural world. This could involve a clifftop walk near Eastbourne, but it would be just as valid to be visiting a small park in an inner city or an old cemetery. There are some big themes as well, such as studying how a landscape has evolved, looking at evidence of earlier life forms, classifying and understanding different types of flora and fauna, observing interrelationships and biodiversity. And no study of natural history will be complete without the study of how humans have responded to nature in art and culture, and of course how humans have impacted on the environment. In this way, studying natural history can make an important contribution to understanding the relationship between the natural world and culture, policy decisions, scientific research and technology. Of course, natural history isn't a subject that stands apart from the rest of the curriculum. There must be elements of the whole curriculum, from early years through to Key Stage 5 and beyond, that build and develop young people's interest in and understanding of the natural world. On its own, the subject can't equip young people with all the skills, knowledge and attitudes they will need to support them through a very uncertain future. Learners need a broad and balanced curriculum that delivers all the sciences, the arts, global perspectives, an understanding of politics, the importance of responsible citizenship, critical thinking. I could go on and on. Natural history has sufficient distinct content to make it a subject in its own right, but it also has all the ingredients that can pull together key strands from across the curriculum in a positive and integrated way. But as important as these issues are, the most important thing is that we do all that is possible to make natural history accessible and relevant to all. This means, as an absolute starting point, that schools must be able to deliver all aspects, including fieldwork, wherever they are and however limited their resources are. As part of our consultation, we sought to understand who would teach the proposed specification and what support they would need when preparing for and delivering the qualification. The responses are clear. Not only do we have the commitment of teachers to the proposed qualification, we also have key organisations such as the Natural History Museum, with its impressive educational services and local school support network, prepared to step forward with support to schools in developing their provision, delivery of the learning, and in sharing of good practice. As I suggested earlier, we must ensure that pupils in urban settings can achieve the qualification by engaging with nature they can in their immediate locality. For example, by identifying flowers. You might call them weeds in urban settings and tracing them back to their origins, analysing why they were there, how they got there, and investigating the community of organisms they support. We need to demonstrate that natural history is for everyone. That means celebrating a diverse range of naturalists from around the world, from different cultures and periods of history. It means ensuring a diverse input to develop and promote the qualifications, and it means supporting a global perspective alongside a local one. In other words, we must have a qualification that everyone recognises as being relevant to them and does not get labelled as something for other people who are not like us. So, in conclusion, there is a long way to go yet, and there will be many challenges along the way. However, with the input and ongoing support of so many people, we think we can achieve something special. If a GCSE in natural history can play a part in inspiring young people, wherever they live and whatever their background, to develop a passion for nature, then it will all have been worthwhile. Thank you.
Jill's already outlined the really key statistics associated with the consultation. The high number of respondents, over 2,500, and the well over 90% support for the key aspects of the proposed qualification. She also outlined statistics associated with young people's engagement with nature and the way in which that has decayed over previous decades to the point where we are now. we think there's a really critical need for the GCSE in natural history. It addresses so many concerns associated with young people's engagement with the natural world. So the consultation confirms that the content is well defined, and it confirms it'll make a unique contribution to education. It's welcomed by young people, and its design and delivery is well supported. All of those things are vital. And it's understandable that the DFE has placed a moratorium on new subjects. Any addition needs a strong and coherent rationale and must make a distinctive contribution to the depth and breadth of the curriculum. And I think the consultation shows that this one does. It is needed. Environmental issues and concerns of course arise in other GCSEs, but the rich knowledge content and the practical field study element of the proposed GCSE provides focused, deep study of the natural world. And the study of whole organisms in context is vital and is distinctive. It not only engages young people, but reinstates something which has been lost from the natural sciences, and higher education would like to see it reinstated into the school curriculum. And that is, engagement with whole organisms in context. Observation of the natural world was highlighted and emphasised in primary education in the revised national curriculum in 2014, and the provision of the GCSE strengthens and reinforces this through provision of formal recognition at the age of 16. And our understanding of the natural world was progressed hugely through the amateur tradition of amateur scientists of the 19th and early 20th century. Not amateur in what they did, or the standards they did it to, but amateur in the way in which ordinary people were engaged in in-depth study of nature. Not something done remotely by distant specialists, but accessible to all. And as Jill says, just as young people are growing more distance from animals and plants, they're expressing a need to reconnect with nature. We believe that GCSE is fundamental to that re-engagement, and the overwhelmingly positive response to the consultation suggests that educationalists, parents and young people think so too. Now, there have been questions about, is this a rural qualification? Is this something that only can be done in the green and pleasant land of England? I don't think so at all. It's kind of the wrong way to think. And maybe thinking at a different scale helps. I mean, we mustn't forget that Darwin was particularly engaged with barnacles, and they're not known for being furry or big. That's really important. So let's think about this. Of course, the rural environment offers loads of opportunities for studying red kite or roe deer, oaks to otters. But those organisms, whilst fascinating and amazing in their own right, cause us to stop and think, what about fungi, or insects, or arachnids, or bacteria, or viruses, or mosses, or lichens? No, we're now thinking on a different scale. It's a bit like Darwin's barnacles. It helps us think about what can be done in the urban environment. In walking along in the urban environment, we can see the overgrown corner of a local park. We can see the weeds that begin to take over a pavement, or the insects inhabiting a window box. We can see the lichen on a garden wall. These are all things which are the very stuff of natural history. Actually understanding what these organisms do, what they are doing, how they contribute, how they're threatened by change, how they respond to change and exploit change in the natural environment. So, yeah, of course the big organisms are important, and they occur in the urban environment too. And the kestrel that I saw on a school roof in North London, eyeing up the small birds in the adjacent gardens. Yeah, they're there too. But let's make no mistake about it. The rich knowledge and understanding and the practical activity which is at the heart of the GCSE can be applied in the urban environment easily and readily, and open the eyes of young people to what's going on around them. Myriad organisms engaged in productive activity in the urban environment. I suppose the final thing I want to emphasise is what young people and teachers and people who I've discussed this with, ex-teachers, parents of friends of mine, and people in organisations that we've consulted. And I've listed all those different people because they all tend to say the same thing when they know that we're developing a proposed GCSE in natural history. They ask about the content, and once we've discussed it in detail, what they say is almost universally the same thing. What they say is, if it had been available in school when I was there, I would have done it. And I think that's really compelling. Well, on the basis of that, on the basis of the work that we've done on the aims, the content, and the assessment model, and the extent to which that has been really welcomed in the consultation, let's actually make it available to a new generation of young people.